Hello, my name is Espen Andersen. I'm an associate professor of technology strategy at the Norwegian School of Management, and I'm here doing a video on how to prepare and how to be a student in case discussions. And with me is Professor of Accounting Hanno Roberts, who also teaches at the Norwegian School of Management. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about group presentation and group work around cases, and that is actually an area that very often creates conflict or difficulties and sometimes a sense of uneven workloads and lack of justice within the group. So it has to be approached carefully.
Like Espen says, this is where it often goes wrong, because when you prepare badly, your results also in class are going to be bad. So here you have to prepare and plan for success, and these are some of the things you can consider when you set up group casework. But there are two basic parameters which you should always consider before I get into the nitty-gritty detail of doing this. The first one is look at your casework group as a mini organization. And as any organization, you have to set up front, before you even start working, you have to set up a set of rules. And this set of rules are, for example, rules on what role do people take? What do we do with people that shirk or don't perform? We have to have a number of sanctions. We have to have a calendar and a deadline. We have to have a bit of tasks, because some people are better preparing PowerPoints, some people are better talkers, etc., etc. These things you need to set up front as a mini organization. The second thing is a little bit more negative probably, but it is, if things don't work, there is one golden rule here: is don't go to the teacher. Because the first thing that the teacher will do, he will throw it back at you. Because as soon as your group starts to fail and you escalate it upwards, or usually to the hierarchy or the authority, the teacher, when you escalate it to the teacher, basically the group failed. The group is incapable of working together. And this is usually because the group didn't set its own rules properly. The group didn't consider itself to be a little organization where certain things of how we work around here have to be agreed upon up front. So please do spend 15 minutes before you even open up and start discussing the case about setting 3 or 4 things clear. And those 3 or 4 things I would like to discuss right now. First of all, contact details. Who are in your group? How can you reach each other? Emails, mobile phones, SMSs, contact details, because all of you tend to have busy agendas. You have many things to do. So how can you find each other? When are you available? Do you respond faster on email, or you respond faster by SMS or text message or by phone? Have the contact details clear, and make sure that, of course, everybody has the contact details. Okay? And that can be as simple as just beaming stuff between mobile phones in the first meeting. The second thing is have an agenda. Have an agenda, because usually case discussions are, if you don't have an agenda, they run out of time. They become hours and hours and hours and hours. So have an agenda. And the first agenda is, for example, first reading, second reading, discussion of the problems, discussion of the arguments, additional work. Okay? So have an agenda. Create the agenda up front. How primitive it might be, 2 or 3 points is enough. So have an agenda. Contact details, have an agenda. The third thing is roles. Make sure in the case discussion that is not an open outcry market. I want to say, and before you know, 6 or 5 people are yelling to each other. Make sure that there is a chairman and there is a secretary. A chairman is somebody who regulates the discussion, and the secretary is somebody who takes notes. It might be helpful when you take notes by projecting them immediately on the screen behind you. For example, on your laptop, put it straight into PowerPoint and project it so that everyone can follow what is the discussion going on. So have a chairman, have a secretary. The secretary basically is a note taker. The chairman regulates the discussion. Otherwise, all this information becomes a hodgepodge, and a stewed information usually means it doesn't taste like anything and there's no result. So that's the third thing. Contact details, agenda, roles. The fourth thing, of course, is the time calendar. Because casework occasionally is done before class or in between classes at night. Make sure that you have an idea about the time window. When do we start? When do we stop? How do we cut up things in between? What are the milestones? If you have to do multiple cases, this is case A, Case B. For case A, we assign 6 hours. After 2 hours, we take a break because people get tired, want a cup of coffee, need to have a smoke or go to the toilet or whatever it is. So set a time frame. Set a time frame and manage on the time frame. Put your watch on the table. Okay? So otherwise it gets this coffee table discussion, and that's something you should do in the bar afterwards. Now you're focusing on getting a result, which is the case answer or the case conclusion.
Now, this is a group endeavor, and one of the things we do see sometimes, especially if the case is discussed as a group and then presented as a group, is that we sometimes see students assigning the job to one student, maybe on a rotation scheme. You know, marketing classes is done by this guy, and strategy is done by this woman. Sometimes you do it based on industry experience. Well, you know, it's a shipping case, and this guy works in shipping, so he does it. Now, we do need to underscore that the purpose of case teaching is learning. And learning, you know, you're not going to learn if you subcontract the work away and don't, you know, take part in the discussion. So everybody needs to be in, and everybody should be able to present as well as everybody else within the group. Now, that being said, we sometimes get students who say, I don't like to speak in front of people. I don't want to, I prefer to write reports and things like that and answer written questions. And in that case, my approach is basically to say, well, I'm sorry, but, you know, you are partaking in a managerial education, and being a manager needs very much, you know, learning and being able to draw conclusions and being able to argue for them in front of other people. And if you're not prepared to do that, well, quite frankly, you shouldn't be in that class.
Yeah. So to stress as Espen's words, everyone does everything. So this is not division of labor like in industrial manufacturing, that somebody does this and somebody does that. This is knowledge work. Case analysis is knowledge work. So all, like you organize an R&D organization, everybody does all the knowledge work together. You need to have this sort of joint intelligence in your group. Okay. 2 more things. The first one is, you might make life a little easier for yourself if you already, together with the rules of the game for your mini organization, also agree on a template. If you do PowerPoints, the template of your case, which you use across many cases. This means it's easier to do the sort of case discussion and to put it afterwards on a PowerPoint. You don't have to spend much more time because the template is already there. So it saves time, it's more efficient, and time is scarce because you have only this window to do it. The other thing is, if you are sort of lost on case analysis itself, how to look at it, there are plenty of preset analytical frameworks. For example, you can do a SWOT analysis, a strength, weakness, opportunity and threats analysis. Or you can use McKinsey 7S, which is a very basic way of filtering information. It is not necessarily guiding you to answers, but it helps you to structure the chaos a little bit. It will not give you arguments. What it will do is to organize your mind, because as soon as you start organizing, you have clues. Like, well, wait a minute. If this we talk about systems there, or we talk about opportunities there, we have to do some number crunching here, or we have to look for arguments in the marketing area. So it gives you a cue to open up your own analytical mindset. So to summarize the issues here: contact details, agenda, roles, time calendar, everybody does everything. And finally, maybe select an analytical framework and a PowerPoint template. With these number of things, you should be able to start doing the casework.